back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel for Tuesday the 22nd of August. Today going to have a quick chat about the defensive crisis at Celtic, what may be potential solutions to the problems Celtic are likely to face in central defence for the next 3 or 4 weeks up until the end of the international break. Also, a couple of potential loan or transfer moves coming into Celtic, and also the exit likely in the next few days or week for James McCarthy, who has been warming the bench at best, or not even in the match squad for the best part of 2 years after a bright start 2.5 years ago. So, overnight news is that Mike Nawrocki has suffered a hamstring injury at the game against Kilmarnock on Sunday. All-weather artificial pitches are notorious for causing leg injuries, and it would appear that Nawrocki has suffered a hamstring injury. At this time, it's uncertain of the severity, and he is due for a scan, which should tell Celtic whether it's going to be a couple of weeks out or longer. On the same topic, it would appear that also Carter-Vickers is going to be out for at least another couple of weeks and potentially longer, and Celtic are apparently seeking an expert opinion as to an exact period that he is going to be out with his hamstring injury. This clearly is very bad news for Celtic, when also allied with Stephen Welsh being out for 3 to 4 months with his ankle injury, which leaves Celtic rather threadbare in central defence, with only Gustav Lagerbielke, a recent transfer from Elfsborg, and Liam Scales, who for much of the pre-season and early season seems to be on his way to Aberdeen, but now appears to be essential for Celtic for the next few weeks or months, either to play or to be on the bench to cover left side of central defence and left back. Yuki Kobayashi has been injured, although is on the way back to fitness, and Johnston has been progressing very well in training and may well be available for the Rangers match on the 3rd of September. Looking at Celtic's options to play the next game against St Johnston and then the Rangers fixture on the 3rd of September, it would look like Celtic are going to need to use Gustav Lagerbielke and Liam Scales. There is, of course, the option of using Tomoki Iwata as an emergency central defender. This did work relatively well at the end of last season, and Iwata has had experience at centre-back in Japanese football. Another interesting proposal was using the recently signed Korean utility defender and midfielder Kwon in central defence. And if Alistair Johnston was fit, he has also played at centre-back in the past as well. And certainly I would have no doubts of Alistair Johnston playing in the Rangers fixture, as he was excellent in his debut at the start of 2023 in that fixture. Celtic also may well rekindle their interest in Xavier Mbuyamba for Volendam. Celtic have scouted him on many occasions. They felt that Lagerbielke and Nawrocki were both better options, and that Mbuyamba maybe needed another year or so of first team football to fully reach his potential. However, this may well be an option to transfer him to Celtic now for a couple of million, as many scouts are indicating that he is a future Virgil van Dijk. I will be including a scouting reel for Xavier Mbuyamba and also a scouting reel for Kvistgaarden, the Danish striker Celtic are also said to be interested in. Celtic have made inquiries with Brøndby regarding Kvistgaarden and have been told that the transfer fee would be £4 million, but the Brøndby are reluctant to sell him, as they have recently also sold their other main striker to Elfsborg. However, Kvistgaarden is keen to move on to a bigger league and more regular Champions League football. And so, if Celtic were to consider at this time £4 million from their transfer kitty, I think this would be a good signing. And now, just going to splice in the scouting reels for Kvistgaarden and Mbuyamba. Hope you found those two scouting reels helpful, and gives you an idea of the two players said to be on Celtic's radar. I think Mbuyamba looks like a player very similar to Virgil van Dijk. Good in the air, strong, good anticipation, very quick thinking, and a lot of pace. Good at tackling, good interceptions, able to move out wide, very comfortable with the ball at his feet, and quite a threat at set pieces. And I think would bring Celtic a different sort of centre back to Nawrocki and Carter-Vickers, being a bit more of an aerial threat. Appears to be more similar to Lagerbielke, who looks comfortable coming out of central defence with the ball at his feet. And I think Lagerbielke is going to settle down and turn into a very good Celtic player. Mbuyamba said to be available for a couple of million, and so given Celtic's defensive crisis at the moment, Celtic may well use the last couple of weeks of the transfer window to bring him in. Brendan Rodgers was very keen to have 4 good quality centre-backs available at all times. And it would appear that players like Scales and Welsh were more thought to be backups and squad players rather than players expected to start on a regular basis. Kvistgaarden, as I said in yesterday's video, I think is an excellent young striker, has scored goals in under 21 international level for Denmark, scored 10 goals in the Danish Premier League last year, and despite the fact he's only about 5'7", 5'8", he's good in the air, strong, able to run through defences using his pace, gets into the box very well, scores from 6 yards and in, also has the ability to hold the ball up, probably a bit better than Kyogo. And so I think, given Brendan Rodgers also saying that he is keen to have a third choice centre forward, striker, and that the experiment with Maeda does not appear to be working, I think Celtic should push on and commit the 4 million for Kvistgaarden and the 2 million for Mbuyamba. Other stories circulating are that Jota's time at Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia is coming to an end. There are stories that he may be available on loan, and Celtic should jump at the chance to take that, and even that he is to be declared a free agent, and so would be free to negotiate with any club without there being any kind of loan fee or transfer fee. Celtic are said to be interested in signing him again. However, clubs in the English Premier League, such as Everton and Atalanta in Serie A in Italy, are both also said to be interested in him. And I suspect that Jota would be keener to go to Everton in the English Premier League or to Atalanta in Italy than coming back to Celtic, even though he did say he loved Celtic and the fans and the team so much. However, one solution to the crisis that Celtic has trying to replace Jota would be, ironically, re-signing Jota either on loan or as a free agent. And I think Celtic should certainly explore those options. Another ex-Celtic player who seems to have a rather uncertain future, Kieran Tierney at Arsenal. He started his career at Arsenal, I thought, very well, appeared to be the first choice left back, but then last season became second choice behind Zinchenko, and then this season appears to have become third choice behind Zinchenko and Timber. However, both of those two are currently injured, and so I was expecting he would have been starting yesterday for Arsenal against Crystal Palace, However, instead, the Mikel Arteta used a right back at left back, and Tierney was not even on the bench. Arsenal do seem to have rather a crisis now at left back because the Japanese player who was deputising at left back, Tomiyasu, got himself sent off, and so will be missing for a week or two. I think signing Kieran Tierney back would be a great signing for Celtic. He, of course, would provide cover at left back and at centre back, but I don't think it really is a viable option, probably for another 4 or 5 years. But I could certainly see Kieran Tierney coming back to us to finish off his career. James McCarthy, who has been with Celtic for 2.5 years, has played 20-odd games for Celtic, although I can scarcely remember many of those. Appears to be on his way out. He and his agent are negotiating with a variety of teams, such as Sunderland, Fleetwood, Wigan, Cardiff, and Stoke. And there is also said to be interest from Hibs. McCarthy is a lifelong Celtic fan and, of course, did have a very good career playing in England. And so at the time when Postecoglou signed him, it did look like a good signing for Celtic. However, this has not borne fruit. His performances, apart from the first few, were disappointing, and he has spent much of his time for the last 2 years recovering from niggling injuries or watching from the stands, and has rarely even been part of the matchday squad. However, I do wish him good luck in his next few years as he finishes off his career. The other story regarding Paddy Roberts coming back to Celtic on transfer from Sunderland for around 3 to 3.2 million has not really progressed. But I think if he was to be signed, Celtic fans would be quite enthusiastic at seeing him coming back, as he had a couple of very good years under Brendan Rodgers in his first spell. One other option Celtic may have, looking to cover central defence for the next few months, would be signing a player on loan. Loan option being Taylor Harwood-Bellis at Man City. He has spent the last couple of seasons on loan with great success in the English Championship, and like several very promising Man City young players, it would appear that Guardiola has to make a decision on whether to keep them in the long term in the Man City squad or to move them on, transferring them away, or to send them out on loan for a further season. Harwood-Bellis is an England under-21 international, very skillful player, very good defender, and very highly rated. And there are a number of English Championship clubs and Nottingham Forest all said to be interested in him on loan or transfer, with a transfer fee of around 15 million. He would be a good addition to Celtic's squad on loan for 6 or 12 months. And I think the attraction of Champions League football would be a definite carrot for him to come to Celtic, and for Man City to consider loaning him to Celtic to improve his development with a view to going back to play for them. On a similar topic, 2 other players said to be on Celtic's radar as loans with a view to signing are James McAtee and Tommy Doyle. The picture for Tommy Doyle appears to be clearer now, in that Sheffield United have dropped out, which would leave Celtic and Wolves as the main 2 clubs looking at him for loan and or transfer. And Man City are apparently keen for him to go to a top club rather than going back to the Championship on loan. And this would appear to be the same case for James McAtee. A lot of people are saying Celtic do need a strong, combative midfielder, and Tommy Doyle would tend to fit that bill. Some people feel that the game against Kilmarnock, had there been someone to take control of midfield, be a wee bit of sort of roughhouser, so even a Scott Brown, that the game against Kilmarnock may not have gone the way that it did. These all are interesting options, but I think in the short term, Celtic will probably look to use Scales, Iwata, to cover for Carter-Vickers and Nawrocki until they're back. Although I do find it interesting and a good option to look at Mbuyamba, because I think he will be a star of the future, and we could get him now at a more budget price. And that finishes things off for today. Please like and subscribe. Remember, there is a quiz question in the community section. And I will speak to you again tomorrow. Goodbye, and hail, hail.